Kicking off an all-new edition of CNN Student News, I'm Carl Azus at the CNN Center. First up today, American forces are on the move as President Bush announces military plans for two countries. Right now, there are about 146,000 U.S. troops serving in Iraq. But by early next year, around 8,000 of them will be leaving. And in that same time frame, some 4,500 other American service members are going to be headed to Afghanistan. Jamie McIntyre breaks down the details of these moves and explains what they could mean for the next U.S. president.
It's not what the Pentagon had hoped for or what many expected. The recommendation of General David Petraeus, approved by President Bush, essentially maintains current troop levels until next year in both Iraq and Afghanistan. There will be some 8,000 fewer troops in Iraq come January, but that's still slightly above pre-surge levels. Still, it permits President Bush to tell commanders in Afghanistan, desperate for more troops, that help is on the way.
A November Marine battalion that was scheduled to deploy to Iraq will instead deploy to Afghanistan. It will be followed in January by an Army Combat Brigade.
What the president didn't mention is that Marines going in November will be replacing Marines already there, but scheduled to leave. So the real increase in troop levels in Afghanistan won't come until next year, when the 3rd Brigade of the Army's 10th Mountain Division is sent there instead of Iraq. President Bush calls it a return on success. Barack Obama calls it the same strategic mistake.
What we've heard from the president today, which is essentially some tinkering around the edges and kicking the can down the road to the next president.
Democrats cast the Bush plan as a rejection of any timetable for further withdrawals, which they argue takes the pressure off Iraq's leaders for political reconciliation and leaves the stated goal of the surge unmet. But the plan does keep Iraq alive as a presidential campaign issue.
Senator Obama has refused to acknowledge that he was wrong about the surge. He said it wouldn't succeed. Thanks to General David Petraeus and these brave young Americans, we are winning in Iraq, and we will come home with honor.
Along with the relatively high troop levels in Iraq, the next president will also inherit General Petraeus and the new Iraq commander, General Raymond Odierno, both who are wary of pulling U.S. troops out of Iraq too fast. And the 3,500 additional troops going to Afghanistan, that's only a third of what commanders there say they need. Jamie McIntyre, CNN, The Pentagon.
Time for the shout-out. Which of the countries on this map is North Korea? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it A, B, C, or D? You've got 3 seconds. Go. On this map, B represents North Korea, a country that's home to nearly 23.5 million people. That's your answer, and that's your shout-out.
Many of those millions are celebrating the 60th anniversary of North Korea's communist government this week. There's someone who is very conspicuously missing from these festivities, Kim Jong-il. He's been North Korea's head of state for more than 14 years now. But as John Voss tells us, Kim's recent absence from the public eye is raising questions about the North Korean leader's health.
So, where is Kim Jong-il? The reclusive leader has not been seen for weeks, not even at a major national celebration Tuesday to mark North Korea's 60th anniversary. Sources who were there tell CNN they did not see Kim. His image was not shown on television. The parade was delayed for several hours, and unlike past significant national holidays like this, there was no serious military hardware on show.
What they call the civilian troops, which are not part of the permanent army, was participating in the parade, but not the regular Army, Navy, and Air Force.
By nightfall, civilians came out with flaming torches, spelling out slogans and patriotic symbols. Kim was also missing a day earlier at a higher-level gathering of North Korean leaders, leaving the tough talk to the country's premier. The DPRK will resolutely and mercilessly retaliate against any slightest provocative act of infringing upon its sovereign dignity and interests, he said. Kim's no-show on Tuesday is adding to increased speculation about his health, a closely guarded state secret. In the past, he's denied suffering from diabetes, high blood pressure and heart problems. But the rumors continue to swirl, including unconfirmed reports that 5 Chinese doctors have been treating him in Pyongyang. All of this leads to the question, who would take over after Kim? He's known to have 3 sons, but for now none have a high profile. Could a military government keep control? Especially with the UN reporting that failed crops and a shortage of international aid have made an already chronic shortage of food even worse. North Korea's Stalinist government has survived mostly by closing itself off and defying the rest of the world. But with an impoverished, hungry population, an aging, possibly unhealthy leader with no obvious successor, that strategy, it seems, is unlikely to work for another 60 years. John Vos, CNN Beijing.
Is this legit? The primary currency of the United Kingdom is the euro. No. The UK is part of the European Union, but its economy is based on the pound.
But there's one British town that doesn't want to use that either. You need money, so what's the solution here? Well, officials are going to make their own. Local businesses are lining up to cash in on a new currency, and organizers say it'll increase a sense of pride in the community. Jim Bolden weighs in with a report on the introduction of the Lewis pound.
It's crunch time for those introducing the Lewis pound.
Sue, hi. I've got some more of these for you. I think you've run out.
It's just hours before celebrations to launch the new currency.
You coming tonight?
Yes, we should be there.
Lewis, near England's south coast, is a wealthy town with a high proportion of small shops. The point behind this new local currency is to keep it that way.
When we started out and decided that we were going to go ahead with this, we thought, well, if we get 15 traders to sign up to the initiative, we'll go ahead with it. We've now got over 70 and growing, and so the response has been overwhelming.
The big chain stores in Lewis have not been invited to join. Supporters say a local currency stays in town. It could also cut down on emissions if people walk more from shop to shop and buy local produce so fewer goods are transported from afar.
How much would you like?
Back in May, when Lewis was debating a local currency, cheesemonger Fiona Kay told me she was unsure.
Our own currency as well.
Now she's totally behind it.
So, besides you taking the pound from customers and giving it in change, what will you personally be doing with some of it? Will you be paying staff with it? Will you be using it in other shops as well?
I'll be paying my staff with it. I will be using it for some of my suppliers who are within the Lewis area, the catchment area for the pound, and I'll be using it myself to shop in the shops as well.
Unlike some other local currencies or vouchers, there is no discount. 1 Lewis pound is worth 1 British pound. And some people from outside Lewis have been skeptical.
I'm from Seaford, and so I come here. It's only 20 minutes, but I wouldn't want to have money that I can only then spend here.
It's weird. Why? Don't think it's a good idea. I can't see the point of it.
Supporters say not to worry.
The truth is, if you really don't want to spend it locally, you can trade it at any of the issuing points at any time, pound for pound. So there's never a risk of you being stuck with Lewis pounds.
Around 10,000 Lewis pound notes are now in circulation. Since it's not legal currency, there is no picture of the Queen. Instead, it's local 18th century revolutionary Tom Paine. Lewis prides itself on its independent streak. After all, once before, it had its own currency more than 100 years ago. Jim Bolden, CNN, Lewis, England.
Before we go, the graceful gallop of a gallivanting goat. Oops. All right, he's not clumsy. These guys are what are called fainting goats. They suffer from a genetic disorder that causes them to literally get scared stiff, usually by a loud noise. When the goats get frightened, their muscles tighten up for a few seconds, and if they're off balance, poof. As they get older, though, the creatures learn to brace themselves for the condition. It's not quite as funny for us to watch, but probably better for the goats. You got to make sure a story like that doesn't get your goat. Oh, you saw it coming. Have a great day. I'm Carl Azus.